Welcome on in to Tossin the Pigskin. I'm your host, Nate Smith. As everybody knows, the draft is less than a week away, and just like you guys, we're extremely excited about it. So what better way to bring it in than with a good old mock draft? As always, joined alongside Joseph Caulo and Jacob Lev. So we'll kick things off with the number one pick. Browns are on the clock. Jacob, who do they take?
I think John Dorsey and Hugh Jackson have to go Sam Darnold here. They've been skipping on the quarterback for a while now. They've been in the top five for, what, like 3-4 years now in a row?
Every year since 1965.
Oh, there you go. All right, well, anyways, they got to go quarterback here. I think Sam Darnold's the safest pick for them. I mean, I could see Josh Allen, I could see Josh Rosen, but Sam Darnold's got to be the pick here. He could sit behind Tyrod Taylor for a year or two and come in and hopefully end that, do you know, like the jersey with like the 21 names in the back? Hopefully Darnold would be the last name on that for a while. So
that would definitely be a good move for that organization. I also think they should take Darnold, but Joe, you got a little different take.
Well, I'm going to go with Josh Allen, and
okay.
For the reasons you just mentioned, it's the ultimate Browns move. Why get a guy that's shown some success and won games in college when you can get an unproven quarterback from Wyoming? And I'm not trying to rag on the guy. He looks like an NFL quarterback. He's got maybe the highest ceiling. He's got the most overall talent.
He's got big hands, don't forget.
He's also got a website dedicated to drafting him.
Yeah.
Shout out Barstool.
Point being, I could definitely see Sam Darnold going number one overall, but my gut keeps telling me Josh Allen, so that's what I'm going to say.
Well, also, John Dorsey does have the history of drafting big arm quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. Josh Allen has a rocket arm. When it comes to draft Josh Allen.
I could see them also taking Saquon Barkley, just because that would be the most Browns move of all time, even though they definitely need a quarterback. If they took Saquon, that would be a disaster, in my opinion, at 1 at least. If he's there at 4, you circle back and get him. I think that's a solid draft.
You got to do it, but
we'll see. Okay, so we'll move to number 2 here, the New York Giants. Jacob, where do you think they go? Assuming, because you have Darnold going 1, so where do you think they go with 2?
I can easily see a quarterback going here. I mean, Eli Manning's not getting any younger, but I think they go Saquon Barkley. I think he has that it factor. He's a generational talent, and I think Dave Gettleman is going to have a hard time passing up on him. He had Jonathan Stewart in Carolina, and he brought him to New York. But how long can he possibly be playing? I mean, he's not getting any younger either. So I think you bring in Barkley, who's, again, a generational talent, and he can help shore up that running back position that they've struggled with for a couple of years now.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is the highest the Giants have ever picked, I believe, in the modern draft era. So I think they don't really know what to do with the number 2 pick. They got too many guys to choose from. So I actually think they're going to trade back. I think possibly a team like Buffalo. Buffalo's got a lot of ammunition. They got the 12th pick, the 21st pick. I think they have a couple second-rounders. They have enough to possibly move up. I think this is something that will happen on draft day. This is part of the reason I love the draft. It's so exciting. The clock will be on, and I wouldn't be surprised. Bills move up, and then they're going to get Sam Darnold. I think that's just they need a quarterback. I mean, there's no bones about it. They have A.J. McCarron, I think, is the only quarterback. They got rid of Tyrod
Nathan
Taylor.
Peterman.
Nathan Peterman.
5 interceptions in 1 game.
Yeah, in one half.
Even better.
That's quite the debut.
Point being, the Bills are desperate enough to trade away the farm, so to speak, to get a quarterback. I think they'll do that. They'll come up, get Darnold.
Yeah, I think another team in the top 5 here, the Denver Broncos, I think it's another team that could trade back potentially. Mm-hmm. They don't necessarily, I mean, they do need pieces, obviously. They're the 5th pick in the draft, but I think they're a team that have a talented enough roster as to where, you know, one of these teams like Buffalo you mentioned, I could see someone even like Arizona maybe looking to trade up and get a quarterback. Some of these teams really need a quarterback, so I could see them trading back. Another team that might trade back to me is the Colts too. You know, if Andrew Luck, this is all based on if Andrew Luck is healthy.
Though,
yeah.
They've already traded with the Jets, so they could do it again, but they'd have so many picks. I mean, I don't know.
Here's the thing. I think Chris Ballard, the GM of the Colts, is going to want to explore trading back even more, because I think he wants to rebuild this Colts team with young players. And how do you do that? Just keep getting as many draft picks as you possibly can. And they could wind up with like 4 or 5 second-rounders. That's 4 or 5 potentially really good players for this Colts team that needs as much young talent as they possibly can.
In my mock, I have the Colts taking Saquon. Now, obviously, he might not be there at 6. He might not drop that far. But if he does, you get a healthy Andrew Luck back there with Saquon. I think that automatically just upgrades your offense into something that's a threat.
That also gives them a good running back tandem with Barkley and also Marlon Mack, who I think is a good. I don't think he's a premier.
I think he's a good complimentary back.
He's a good complimentary back. So that's a scary tandem right there, I think. So
yeah, I'd have to agree.
I can see that happening. The Colts thing is their division's getting tougher by the day.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, they need help now. I mean, they can't get a few developmental guys. I think too they need to get an offensive lineman. I have him here going with Bradley Chubb, just because I think he's a guy that kind of had possibly a number 1 overall grade on him if he were in a different draft class. I think this draft class is just exceptionally good. I think there's so much talent at so many different positions that'll fall back, and I have him going 6 overall with the Colts.
Oh, real quick, I have them going Quentin Nelson. I think he's the best player in the draft. I mean, I know he's a guard. It's not a sexy pick by any means, but I think he can help shore up this O-line that's been struggling with injuries, with play, and penalties. So I think that's the safest pick in the draft overall is Quentin Nelson.
I'd say either him or Chubb. I think both of those guys have little to no bust potential. I think they'll both be immediate day 1 starters, potential Pro Bowlers. All right, let's move here to picks 9 through 16. So for me, in this situation, so we got the Niners at 9. Almost everyone has them going defense here. Jacob, you have them taking Edmonds. Joe, you got Minka, and I have Edmonds as well. I think Edmonds is just one of those linebackers that could potentially change your franchise.
He's a baller.
He could be around for 10 years. He's fast. He's a great athlete. He's what teams are looking for. He's tall. In that modern linebacker that can really run sideline to sideline, cover, fill the gaps, stop the run.
Well, with Reuben Foster, with his unfortunate issues.
Yeah, that's another.
That's realistically, that's a guy they draft. They think he's going to be a starter there for the next 5 years. Well, all of a sudden, he might not ever play another down of football. So
seriously,
I think that makes sense. Edmonds. I have Minka Fitzpatrick. I think maybe a little bit of a bias with John Lynch kind of running the show there and he being a safety. I think he realizes Minka Fitzpatrick's that type of safety that I don't want to compare him to Tyrann Mathieu because Tyrann Mathieu is so unique, but he's versatile. You can come up, he can cover guys on the line, he can drop back. So I'm going to go Minka, but Edmonds certainly would be a good pick for them.
Joe, I had a question for you. So at 12, you have the Bills taking Mason Rudolph. What are the thoughts behind that pick?
Okay, so I put 2 stars by it, and I think the Bills are going to trade up with the Giants, really.
Right.
And the Giants are probably going to have that pick. So I think maybe the Giants go with Mason Rudolph.
Wow.
If that's their guy. And now I'm saying that realistically, with these next kind of tier of quarterbacks, I could see Mason Rudolph and Lamar Jackson. They can go top 10. They could also fall out. You never know. I mean, last year everyone talked about how weak the quarterback class is, how weak it was. Well, we saw 3 guys go in the top 11 picks, I think it was, or top 12 picks. So I think it could be the year that Mason Rudolph gets drafted, in the top 12, top 15, even if he's not that type of talent.
I do agree with the Bills possibly trading up with the Giants.
Yeah.
But for this mock draft purposes, I still have Josh Allen falling to 12. I think Josh Allen will only be successful in a small market. He played in a small market. He grew up on a farm, so he doesn't know what a big city's like, which is why I think he would struggle in a city like New York if the Jets were to draft him.
And
so I think Josh Allen, if he goes to Buffalo, if he goes to Arizona, it's more low-key and the media won't be on him 24/7, whereas in New York, if he never plays a game, like Christian Hackenberg, he never played a down in the NFL yet. He's making front headlines in New York. Josh Allen, I don't think could handle that either. So I think he needs to go to a team like Buffalo, which I'm hoping will possibly happen.
Yeah, and I think Buffalo would be a good fit too. Cold weather, he's used to that as well. And as you mentioned, less media, just a lower key.
Big weather, right?
That's right. No fumbles. All right, so one thing I noticed too is me and Joe both have Calvin Ridley being the first receiver off the board. Joe has him going 15 to Arizona. I have him going 16 to the Ravens. Both of those scenarios are very possible in my mind. I think those 2 teams might be the most wide receiver desperate teams in the draft right now.
The Ravens did just sign Willie Snead today.
They did.
That's fresh news.
Okay, and they also, they've had a busy offseason. That Crabtree and John Brown.
Oh, but the Saints could also match the Willie Snead offer.
I don't think
they will either.
They signed Meredith.
They did,
but
Chicago.
Regardless, none of those guys really knock my socks off. None of those guys are really a 1. Crabtree's a solid 2. but I think you need someone like a
He's old,
Cooper
too.
who he had in Oakland.
Yeah.
So I still think they would go Ridley here. I mean, Ridley's fast. I mean, he ran a
I don't think
4.4.
Ridley gets by Arizona though, because
Yeah.
as much as Arizona needs a quarterback, they do have bridge quarterback in place, and as much as they need offensive line, they gotta get a wide receiver. They lost John Brown, Jerron Brown, the two J Browns, and Fitz is 30-something years old. I don't know how old he is, but
I think he might be 33,
basically
34.
he might retire any season now. They gotta get a wide receiver, and I think Ridley is. Why not? He's basically put up everything Amari Cooper ever did at Alabama. So
I do agree with the Cardinals being a wide receiver, but also I have Cortland Sutton as my number 1 wide receiver on my big board. As I say, you can't teach size. Cortland Sutton's 6'4".
Mm-hmm.
He can at worst he could be a red zone threat. He could go up there. He could snatch the ball from a cornerback. Also, I know a lot of people have been saying about like his speed. But they said the same about Alshon Jeffrey coming out of college, and look at him now. He's one of the best wide receivers in the league when he's healthy. So I think Cortland Sutton.
if you can get up and get the ball, how much does speed really matter? I mean,
Exactly.
if the guy covering you is 6 foot and you're 6'5" and can jump, I mean, you're gonna win that.
They're saying the same thing about a wide receiver out of Iowa State, and Alan Lazard. He's 6'4", and they're saying he can't run, but he's 6'4". He's going to use his size to his advantage to go up there and get the ball. So that's why I have Cortland Sutton higher than Calvin Ridley, but they're both tremendous prospects, obviously.
Let's move to the next slide here. We got picks 17 to 24. 17, we're starting with the Chargers, but I'm going to skip one and go to 18, the Seahawks, which to me, in this little segment here, I think is the most interesting pick. I have Marcus Davenport, edge rusher out of UTSA, going to the Seahawks. I think that's
How many
a
times have you
perfect.
said that, by the way? UTSA.
Probably
That first
zero.
round pick.
Probably
Never,
zero.
It's never happened.
It's-
Their football program is only about 4 or 5 years old.
Wow.
And now they have a first-round draft pick, so that's good for them.
Yeah, this guy, 17 and a half tackles for loss last year, 8.5 sacks. Just one of those guys that disrupts, causes havoc off the edge. Cliff Avrill's not getting any younger. He's into his 30s. They just lost Michael Bennett. I think
And Sheldon Richardson.
and Sheldon Richardson. They really need some youth on that D-line. I think that's a perfect fit for them. They're already stacked at linebacker. Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright, they don't need a linebacker. Their secondary is iffy, so I could maybe see them going there. But I just think the value of Davenport and just this scenario with the Seahawks, I think that's a great fit.
Now, one thing to keep in mind with the Seahawks, they're in a weird position where they have
Yeah.
a first-round pick, and then they don't draft again until the 5th round.
Wow.
So if you're talking about maybe a team in the late end of the first round needs to move up to get a quarterback that's still on the board, Seattle might be a good team to talk to because they're desperate for picks. They need a lot of help. And if you draft on the first day and you got to wait 2 days to draft again, that's not good for them.
History also shows that they do trade back occasionally. So like they've done it before. I would not be surprised if they do it again, especially as Joey said that they won't be picking until the 5th round.
Now, they also haven't picked this high in a while. So they've
has been a
they've
minute.
been good for about 6 straight years under Carroll. So they haven't had an opportunity to draft a good player like this.
Right.
Jacob, who do you have your eye on in this segment here?
Well, I'm gonna go Darius, guys. I think I have him going number 20 to the
Clean
to
sweep.
the
We all
Lions.
picked that,
We
yeah.
all do.
Yeah.
I think it's our only clean sweep.
He is
Darius
a
Guys.
perfect prospect for this Lions team. They haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher since Reggie Bush.
That's right,
like
baby.
1,006 yard.
a 1,006 yard. He barely made it over that
still
1,000-yard
counts.
mark. Still
Still
counts. And I think Darius Guys could be the next player to do it. You know, I think he could be their modern day Barry Sanders.
Wow.
That's
Barry.
a bold statement by
Barry
me.
Guys.
But also though, I also was a big fan of Amir Abdullah when they drafted him a couple years back, and he hasn't been able to stay healthy. He hasn't been able to perform as well.
Yeah.
So you know what? I have my setbacks with the running back position here, but I think Darius Guice he runs hard, and I think in Detroit, that's their style of play. They go hard, so I think Geis is a perfect prospect for
Motor
them.
City.
It's a blue collar town.
It's a
It's
blue
the Motor
collar
City,
town.
baby.
It's the
They
Motor
go hard.
City, yeah.
All right, one other thing I want to touch on in this segment is the Patriots. We all have them taking a tackle. 2 of us got them taking McGlinchey out of Notre Dame, and then Joe has them taking Williams. I think that's a good pick for them. They just lost Nate Solder. Brady is an old
And
man.
Fleming.
And Fleming, you're right. Cowboys signed him. Brady's an old man. He cannot be getting hit. Literally one hit away, not an exaggeration, for probably ending his career. If he gets hurt at this point, he's probably toast. So I think that's a good safe pick for them as well.
The only problem is I've been hearing rumors that McGlinchey could be going as high as 10 to the Raiders.
Wow.
But if he does fall, New England would be a perfect fit. Perfect fit.
Yeah.
I think with offensive linemen, though, it's one of those things as a team, you never can have enough offensive linemen. I
Exactly.
mean, you never have a problem going, we got too many guards on our team. We got too many tackles. If you're paying your quarterback a lot of money like the Patriots are, or like the Saints are, coming up.
I mean, yeah, just about everybody is. For the most part,
true. You do pay a lot, but when you have a star, a top echelon type quarterback, you gotta draft linemen in front of them.
Absolutely. All right, let's look here now at the tail end of the draft, picks 25 through 32. Jacob, what fit here do you have? Who do you got your eye on in this last part that can maybe make an impact here day one for a team?
We're going to go back to New England here.
Okay.
So they got the 31st pick too. I have them taking Lamar Jackson here. That could be the shocker of the whole entire draft.
It would shock me very much, yes.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, who do they have behind Tom Brady? Brian Hoyer. Is Brian Hoyer a good quarterback?
No.
Probably not. No. So why not draft someone like Lamar Jackson, have him sit behind Brady for a year or two, and then Bill Belichick comes back and he changes his offense completely to fit Lamar Jackson? They would be scary.
There's just no
They would be
way.
scary.
There's no way Lamar's there at 31. I mean, I think all these quarterbacks are going high. Someone will. I mean, could Belichick make it work? I think so, but I just don't see Lamar being a Belichick guy.
There's also been some rumors again. I don't know. Again, it's hard to believe all these rumors so close to the draft because it could be just smoke screens. But they had a lot of interest in Lamar Jackson. They've been one of the teams that have been showing the most. But again, take it with a grain of salt, I guess. But I personally believe it because they need a quarterback. They're going to draft a quarterback within the first 100 selections. If it's Kyle Luletta out of Richmond, if it's Mike White. Or if it's Lamar Jackson, Mason Rudolph.
Maybe someone like Mason Rudolph, yeah. I don't know, that kind of might be able to fit there.
Yeah.
Never know. For me, interesting pick in this section of the draft is, I love Harold Landry, by the way. I got him going to Tennessee at 25. I just think he's a special player. You got him and Davenport, I think both will come in right away and just be productive players off the edge. But for me, I know a lot of you guys have him going earlier, but I have Vita Vea going to the Falcons at 26. Now, it is realistic that he might not be there. He might get swooped up earlier. But he's a guy who could come in and really improve that defense from day one. They could use an interior run stopper. They're solid on the edge with Vic Beasley. They got a pretty good secondary. They got fast linebackers. So just to have that extra strength up front on the defensive line, I mean, this guy just eats up blocks. He could take up 2 offensive linemen at a time, really free up space for the linebackers. And
they lost Poe, too.
Yeah.
Antari Poe to the Carolina Panthers.
Exactly. That would be a perfect fill-in. They're similar style player. Vea might even be a little better. So that's who I got my eye on here. Joe, who do you think in this last segment?
One guy I think that'll sneak up here is Christian Kirk with the 29th overall pick to the Jags.
Yeah,
the Jags lost Allen Robinson and they lost Allen Hurns, both to free agency.
The Allen brothers.
And it's weird for a team to have so much success one year and then all of a sudden 2 of their biggest parts on offense they just let them walk. So they need a wide receiver. I think it makes all the sense in the world to get one. I think the best one on the board will be Christian Kirk at this point from A&M.
Speed. That's all I gotta say is speed.
Yeah, he can return kicks.
I think the Jags are in a really interesting spot. We all have them taking wide receiver here as well. I have Kirk as well, and Jacob has more. But I think the Jaguars, looking at all these teams, they might be the most wide receiver needy team at this moment in time.
I don't know what they did this offseason. I'm scratching my head a bit.
Robinson.
The only good thing
Hurns.
the Jags have done this offseason is they just changed their uniforms. They got rid of
They're kind of boring.
They got rid of the black and the gold. That was awful.
gross
I don't
helmets.
know who thought that was a good idea, but I hated those.
I heard a
uniforms.
funny comment yesterday. I heard that it's basically the Minnesota Vikings jerseys, but with a different color scheme. And they kind of look alike a little bit. I'm a little disappointed that the Jags.
Yeah.
I really like the Jags jerseys the last couple of years, but also
if the NFL's proven anything, the uniforms don't matter. It's all for the fans.
It's all for the
just
fans.
fun.
Exactly.
That'll just about do it on our mock draft for 2018. You guys can tune in. The first night of the draft will be Thursday night, so we'll see how our picks stack up to the real reality. For Joseph Caulo and Jacob Lev, I'm Nate Smith. Thanks for joining us.